1 second. He hasn't let that go.
You ready?
Um,
Thank you. I'd like to call to order the Thursday, April 6, 2017 Watertown City Plan Commission meeting. Roll call, please.
Dolly,
Here.
Arnold,
Here.
Shriver,
Here.
Getz. Oh, I do that every time. Stonebarger,
Here.
Albertson.
Well, you are here.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Could I get a motion and a second?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Arnold, second by Mr. Dolly. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Second item is the approval of the minutes from the February 23rd, 2017 meeting. Motion by Mr. Stonebarger, second by Mr. Dolly. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The rezone of CAC's First Edition R3 from an R3 multifamily residential district to an R1 single-family residential district. Go ahead, Brandy.
Okay. I'll get it up here on the GIS. So, Steve Horning with Cax Lakeside Edition Incorporated submitted an application and petition requesting approval for rezoning the current described property from R3 multifamily residential district to R1 single-family residential district. The adjacent zoning designation is R3 to the north and R3, which is multifamily residential, and then R2, which is single-family attached residential, to the south. The adjacent public right-of-ways will be included in the rezone, and it meets the requirements for an R1 minimum lot requirement. And although some of the lots with the coming plat will appear small, it'll fit because they're going to be doing a smaller Habitat for Humanity homes in this area. That's the reason for the rezone. And then it does lie within the AE floodplain zone.
Is it the hashed marks up there that you show as R3 that you're talking about?
Yep. Currently, this is R3, and the area that's outlined in black, that's what they're proposing to rezone to R1.
And will they have to come back before us with an adjusted plat then? Okay.
Yep, we actually received the plat first, and then our comments were the lot sizes weren't gonna match up with the zoning, and so they said, oh yeah, we should rezone that, so rezoning first, platting second.
Sounds good. For that, I'll open the public hearing if anyone's here to speak on behalf of it. So we've got R1 over to the right here and R2 across the street, and they want to go more R1 and less R3. Seeing no one here, I'll close the public hearing. Anybody have any questions for Brandy on it? Close the public hearing, ask for a motion and a second for discussion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Stonebarger, second by Mr. Dolly. Any other discussion on it? Doesn't look like there's any commercial. We're kind of actually going down in zoning, and we've got R2 across the street, so it makes sense. Call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is item number 4, rezone of the Slaminsky Second Edition from a C2 local commercial to R3 multifamily residential.
So the petitioners, James K. Lindsay, revocable trust, the property owner, and then the interested party, Sweet Properties LLC, submitted the application and petition requesting approval for rezoning the current described property from C2 local commercial district to R3 multifamily residential district, which is this area that's hashed with the black outline. It's 43 feet frontage. The adjacent zoning designations are C2 local commercial districts to the south and east. It's on 19th and First Avenue. Over here is Casey's. I'll turn the zoning off and you guys can see it better.
Thank you, Brandy. With that, I'll open the public hearing if anyone's here to speak on behalf or against the rezone. So, Brandy, will that be, are they going to replat that and make that its own lot? Is that the idea? It's 43 foot in width is all?
They
What-
are going to tie it to the, do a development lot agreement and tie it to the property to the west.
To the existing one that's already there. They want to put more garages or something in there.
Well, if they want to put multifamily in there, how much room, even with their lot agreement, are they going to have to put a, duplex?
To meet their
or-
setbacks and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know what they plan on putting in there.
Regardless of what it is, it has to meet the existing setbacks anyway.
Right.
So we'd see it come back before us.
Correct.
If it doesn't meet the setbacks, it's going to have to come back before us.
They,
at that
they
time.
actually reached out to the building official first and then came to us with the rezone. So that's how we know that they plan on doing the lot.
Yeah. The assumption is whatever they
Agreement.
needed a little more land to meet the setbacks for what they want to do, is
Correct.
what my assumption would be.
As long as they don't come back for a variance. How much
Correct.
room is between that garage area and,
Let me find here. The garage here and the
Yeah.
end of the lot.
yeah,
What it would be if it's tied to it. It'll be 75 feet.
And then they have to strip their setback off the east side for whatever they're going to put there. Well, our assumption is that they're going to abide by the published setbacks. If not, they'd have to come back before us.
Again, this plan came to us after they went to the building official. I can't speak to that, but I'm assuming they've got that all figured out.
Sounds good. Anyone here to speak on behalf or against the rezone? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, ask for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Mr. Dolly, second by Mr. Arnold. It looks like we're going down in zoning from C2 to R3, and our assumption is that if they're going to put something in there, they're going to meet the existing setbacks, and we won't see them again.
Yeah, I guess one final comment. What we're hearing of this concept is that the garages are going to be below on the main level and the apartments up above. So
Okay.
they wouldn't need as much space as a traditional apartment with a separate garage configuration.
Sure.
But that's what I recall of the conversation, again, working with the building official more directly than my office.
We'll just watch and see if what comes of it. Any other questions in the discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5 is the plat of the Morris addition.
Oh, I put the revised plat, that'll be the one that you'll be acting on, because what we included on there is the floodplain for the Willow Creek study. Okay, so the Morris family is the petitioner who submitted the plat on March 17th, 2017, requesting approval of the plat of Morris First Edition. The preliminary plan of Morris First Edition was approved by the Plan Commission on February 23rd of 2017 with conditions. The adjacent zoning designation is all C3. The Morris Edition proposed zoning is also C3, Highway Commercial District. It meets all of the height and placement regulations for the C3 district. The plan will create 8 lots, all in conformance with zoning requirements. Proposed 66-foot right-of-way in conformance with city standards. Detention pond is required to hold a 2-year capacity volume for the Willow Creek watershed, which will be included in the regional pond for the area. And the conditions from Resolution 2017-09 have been met. A development agreement has been drafted from the preliminary plan. And with that, we did make a few changes to the development agreement, just with working with municipal utilities and making sure that we were accounting for the private water lines that is requested by the petitioner. And I can pull that up. And then this is also the revised plat that includes the 100-year flood zone for the Willow Creek floodplain.
And Brandy, this is all of the Morris property here.
Yep.
We're not leaving anything out. So so what they're asking us is to take a look at the plat, and this is 100% of the Morris-owned property.
Yep.
When you said the drainage goes into the existing pond that's down there, is that the one that is down in the county auditor's tract 6A or whatever?
It will be located up within this area.
So it's going underneath Willow Creek Drive, like a culvert underneath there to drain off? Or?
There's an existing storm sewer system there, and they're gonna utilize that, and part of the stormwater treatment facilities will be over on Coho property. This is a cooperative effort between Coho and Morris, and then the Morris plat also then includes 2 private ponds located on its own property as well.
You're happy with the storage for runoff?
Yes, I need to finish reviewing the calculations, but been working real closely with the engineer on how we're concepting this as more of a regional pond up there along Willow Creek, so should be really
Okay.
good.
With that, I'll open, did I have a public hearing yet? I'll do that. If anyone has anything to say for or against the plat, approach the mic. You guys have taken a look at floodplain drainage, lot sizes, right-of-ways, everything is within code on this. You know, I look down as where 26th Street comes down onto someone else's property there. I assume this is all going to work its way through the system. We're here to take a look at just the Morris property right now.
Correct, yep.
These lots 1 and 2, these large lots, the assumption is maybe something big goes in there. If not, then they'll have their own private roads in there.
Correct, and actually, lot 1 and 2 of block 3 are already in negotiations for
Okay.
future purchase
Mm.
from Coho to.
And the reasoning the reason that was there is we laid the streets out this way because those, if any internal roads were to come
They
to
would be
fruition,
private.
that would be private, and then
Correct.
we'd cross that bridge when we get there.
Yep.
The 26th Street, Highway 212, that'll work its way, it's working its way through the courts and the engineering departments right now as to how that will come down, but that's not the Morris property. that
Yep,
we're
city
talking about.
staff has engaged that conversation with Mr. Endries and trying to get that finished, and actually we plan on advertising and getting that built yet this summer, so.
Okay.
Shane, I have a question for you
Mhm.
on the private roads. Are there any requirements on private roads for
Well-
action and stuff like that?
Actually, we call them private roads, but what they're gonna be is shared internal driveways between properties. So that's the conversation when we reviewed this street layout with the developers was, we have a minimal amount of actual public street and right-of-way in these plans. But so we had that conversation with them, and we're encouraging that they align their parking lots and so forth so that they work together to minimize, in other words, we're only allowing so many driveways onto the public street, so then they're gonna have to configure their parking areas and into more common access points, and in other words, build a common road down a property line and then run entrances into their parking areas, so.
Okay, the reason why I ask is because we've got that private road over by the mall that always breaks up every year because the base is terrible.
Right.
But we don't have any control over that.
And the attorney can help me with that a little bit. We do have regulations within the community that if somebody lets private parking lots that the public's intended to use, if they get dilapidated far enough, the city does have a procedure to enforce them to update and maintain their lots. But again, this is private property, and they'll have to build and accommodate for each other as well. So.
Okay.
Thank you. With that, I'll close the public hearing, ask for a motion in a second.
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Arnold, second by Mr. Stonebarger. Any other questions for him before we vote?
One more comment too, just for assurance for municipal utilities, is that Shane is working on a letter of assurance to take care of the private water lines. And then, because here we have it changed, this used to be 7 services, now it's changing to 5. And we have the language also in there that, because usually the developer shall install or cause to be installed the water services to the property line. And so the city will work on a letter to them, just reassuring.
Okay, I'll give you a little more background. On commercial properties, a lot of times the municipal utility, that's all all those services are private. And depending on what type of facility goes in there, whether it needs sprinkling or not, is not something that the municipal utilities deals with. It's all up to the designer and the facility that's going to be built eventually on those lots. From my perspective, as the manager of the public right-of-way, if we're building the road ahead of the buildings, we need to have a certain level of service line coming off of the public main into private property. And so I use a baseline standard of a 6-inch service line because that's what we'd use for fire hydrants. So my presumption is that most buildings would be adequately provided service with a 6-inch service line if it can in fact be satisfactory for a fire hydrant. So with that said, I plan on stubbing 6-inch lines, or having the developer stub 6-inch lines into these lots. And what the utilities is saying is if we don't subsequently use those 6-inch lines or whatever, the city or somebody needs to commit to going back and capping them. My idea is I want those put in ahead of time so that I'm not digging 7 holes in a street. I'd rather dig 1 hole up if I don't use one. So long background, but the long and short of it, city staff is working with the municipal utilities to overcome that philosophy. So, all right.
All right, thank you. I had a motion by Mr. Arnold, second by Mr. Stonebarger. Is that correct?
Yes.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Any old business, new business?
Nope.
All right, need a motion to adjourn. Mr. Dolly, second by Mr. Arnold. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, we're adjourned.